Here, I think 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when Dr. Deborah Honeycutt, which I think was probably the best candidate for Congress, I believe, I worked for her, so I could be a little subjective, but was the best candidate the 13th district I think had ever had run for that seat, and we came out here. I worked on her campaign and we came out here, and so I've been here before, and it was still a fascinating group. I learned a lot just in that little discussion right there, so I appreciate it, Mr. Weldon, because I did not know anything that you were talking about. I only knew what I was taught. It's interesting how they would describe Mr. Weldon, or when you talk about the secession situation, we're given the news as if there's something nefarious about what Mr. Weldon was arguing. But hearing him speak personally, I know it was nothing nefarious. What he was trying to do was get a definition of something that's in the Constitution. Right. But when they deliver him to us, they deliver him some rabid, crazy conspiracy theorist who is anti-black man being in the presidential seat. And I heard nothing of that. And which is why I'm conservative, and which is why I'm here today. My West Indian background, so I can't run for president because my father was not a naturalized citizen. He was a West Indian, Jamaican man, Jamaican citizen. Met my mom. He was one of the first group of African Americans, or he was in the first group of African Americans that integrated customs at Kennedy Airport in New York. And he met my mom because my mom's family was from Jamaica. So he met my mom when she was coming back from visiting family in Jamaica at the airport, and detained her for a long time and got his groove on and met my mom, and they got married and had me. But I couldn't run for president because he was not a thing. Not that I could ever win anyway. But I say all of that to say, the reason why I'm a conservative, and I want to get this straight here before we go any further, I'm not a Republican. I'm definitely not a Democrat, but I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative believer. I believe in the principles and the definition of what it means to be a conservative. I'm right now one of those citizens in this country who's mad at both groups of people. I voted more for Republicans than I have for Democrats in my life, but it's not that I'm a Republican, because I believe parties change, because the people within those parties do whatever they have to do in order to get elected. So I don't believe in a party, but I only have two choices, unfortunately. So I've got to go down a side at some point, but I'm a conservative. And what that means to me is that part of it is because I was raised by Jamaicans. And if you go to Jamaica or you speak to West Indian of any island or any country in Africa, if you speak to the African or the West Indian, the black person, if you will, from those areas, they are the most conservative people based on what we believe conservatism to be. And what I believe conservatism to be is we believe in an ideology that says the society is a loose group of interdependent collection of individuals. That's what we believe. That's why we're conservative. Liberals believe that society is made up of groups. So all black people think the same, all white women think the same, all white men think the same, all gays think the same. And if you're in a group, you might be in three groups. You could be a Hispanic gay female. So now you're in three groups. You're a Hispanic group, you're the women group, and you're the gay group. But that's how liberals think. Oh, sorry. That's how liberals think. So I believe, based on my upbringing, based on what I've seen over my 48 years on this earth, I've seen that I believe that we are really a loosely connected, interdependent collection of individuals. Now, the key to that is we have four pillars that make up that ideology, which is personal freedom or individual freedom, personal liberty. The second one is limited government. The third one is we don't want to be taxed, crazily. And the fourth one is free markets. Those four things make up that ideology or support that ideology. And so as I grew up in Harlem, New York, in a fully, wholly, 100% African-American community, I realized early on, wait a minute, all of my people believe a certain way, have a certain ideology. And 40 years later, it has not worked. So eventually, I've come to realize that, wow, I kind of been thinking the right way all my life, but I've got to get other people to think this way, or else we're going to be kicked to the curb in the dustbin of history. And this group of people, whom I love dearly, will not be here anymore. We will be phased out. As you talk about a global society, as you talk about things that are going on in our lives now, the things that we all agree that we don't really like, well, the people that are going to be most disproportionately affected by all of this change that's going on, and I can run down the gamut of the list of things, will be the African American community. And I don't want to be a part of the generation when history records that was African American in this great country of ours and lost my people. I don't want to be on that team. And so what my job is, I feel, is to go around and try and convince not only the African American community why conservatism, not being a Republican, but why conservatism is an ideology to embrace. By doing that, I will eventually drag them from the left side of the political divide into the middle in order to make choices based on candidates. And if I can get more and more African Americans making decisions politically based on candidates, I can get more things done that we don't go to the dustbin of history. Now you might say, as only Reverend Grayson and I, you might say, well, Shelley, what do I care? I'm white guy, white woman, you know, I live in Cobb County, what do I care? What do I care what the African American voter votes for? Why would I care? Well, you would care because a country and a culture is only as strong as its weakest link. So if we have a group of people that are being systematically eradicated based on an ideology and based on a political party that cares nothing for them, eventually it's going to enter into your affairs. And why I say that is because we all agree that the basis of our conservative belief, part of that sentence is interdependent. So you may not know little Johnny where I live in the West End, but eventually, because we're all interdependent, little Johnny's life will affect you in one way or the other. If little Johnny is not educated correctly, little Johnny may not find a job, little Johnny may either commit crime or become part of the welfare system. Now that affects you. You may not even know him, but you know when you go pay your taxes, some of that money has to go to little Johnny because we haven't taken care of little Johnny and made sure little Johnny was making the right decisions. So this is why it's important to me to come to you today to tell you, how would you talk to your African American neighbor or coach or teacher or whoever it is, the person you come into contact with. We're not, like a gentleman said, you said, in a global community that we live in now, no one's segregated anymore. We all come into contact with everybody. So how do you talk to that African American who you know is way to the left, well maybe not be way to the left, but votes Democrat consistently? How do you talk to them to get them to understand, one, what they believe is not true and good for them. Number two, that you're not who they think and they've been told that you are. And number three, how do you get them to understand that voting as a middle independent person with conservative ideology will benefit the group or their particular lives more so. So let's take the four pillars. Personal responsibility. A lot of my liberal friends will tell me, well, Shelley, personal responsibility is not political, it's not conservative or liberal, but sure it is. I believe in personal responsibility. I've not been the smartest person my entire life. I've made some stupid mistakes. I've drank too much, I've partied too hard, I've done some dumb things. But I never once said, well, hey, got drunk last night, lost my job the next morning. Hey, don't fire me because liquor's legal. I'm allowed to drink. Why shouldn't I drink too much? So, you know, that's what personal responsibility means. But liberals don't believe that. Liberals believe, and I'll give you the examples, liberals believe that if I make a mistake, if I drive fast and I speed down the highway, well then one of two things must happen. Either the cop pulled me over because of the color of my skin or the greatness of my car, or the speed limit needs to be raised or lowered, whatever the case may be. But it doesn't mean that I sped. It just means that you need to change the laws. Another example is legalizing drugs. Now, my community is being disproportionately affected by not only the drug trade, but incarceration rates. So what is the liberal answer to that? The liberal answer to that is make them legal. Well, that makes no sense to me. If you have people that have been going to jail and in disproportionate numbers, and I don't never know what disproportionate means. That's anathema to me. I don't know what that means. If I stand on a corner and sell drugs and someone else is in a house selling drugs, of course I'm going to get arrested more than a guy in his house. But that never makes sense to liberals. But the point is, personal responsibility does not come into play. What they want to tell you is, well, change the law. It's not personal. You're not responsible for your behavior. If you want to drop out of school and go on a government dole, you're not personally responsible because the government will take care of you. So the way you want to talk to the African American community about your belief in personal responsibility is that if you believe you're a free person, which is what everyone wants, no matter what color you are, then you've got to believe that with that freedom comes responsibility for your own life. And that's most important. If you're not responsible for your actions, then you believe there are no consequences to your actions. And when you're led to believe that all your actions have no consequences, and that you're mainly just a victim of something else or somebody else, then you've taught that person that they're not responsible for their actions. So they can speed, they can kill, they can do whatever, they can drop out of school, they can not learn, because you've already taught them that they're not responsible for whatever they do in their lives, because the consequences, there are none, because there's always a safety net. And so that's why, and it's my own life that taught me why I need to be personally responsible. As I've matured, I've realized that, wow, no one's responsible for Shelley but Shelley. And so that's the first thing. The second thing, I talked about government, limited government. Before I go any further, let me tell you, I have friends who believe, as sure as I'm standing here, that every single one of you in this room is a card-carrying racist. This is what they believe, all right? I know it not to be true. I've met Neil, I've met Michael, I've talked to some of you. I know it not to be true, but this is what people believe. So how you talk to this group is very important. Limited government, part of that belief system is that many African Americans, as sure as I'm standing here, believe that the government, or the system, if you will, is inherently racist, okay? Well, as a conservative, I don't believe in a lot of government. Well, for many different reasons, the most important of which, if you're talking to an African American, is if you believe, and you probably, like you said, the Socratic way, ask the question, do you believe this government is racist? By and large, 99% sure that they will say yes. Then your next question should be, logically, then why would you want more of it? Why would you want more of something that you already fundamentally believe is stepping on your neck every day? Why wouldn't you want less of it? You're not going to eradicate it, just like you're not going to eradicate sexism or faddism or any kind of ism. People don't like people for various reasons. Who cares? Get over it. Like President Obama just told a group of Morehouse students, and Herman Cain told us 2 years ago when he was running, or last year when he was running for office. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is limited government means that I just don't like a lot of it. It doesn't mean I want to cut social programs. It doesn't mean I want to have less jobs, because this is what they will say. Limited government means I don't want a lot of the same stuff that you have already convinced me over the course of my life is against me. That makes total sense. I think it does. Maybe I'm wrong, but does it make total sense to you guys? Why would you want more of something that you believe is already bad? Not you, but the person you're talking to. Lower taxes. Here's a belief system in the liberal community, particularly the African American liberal community. There's been studies, Thomas Sowell, the great economist, has already shouted them down, but no one would put them on their television show, which is the biggest conspiracy when you talk about conspiracies. But Thomas Sowell has already proven this not to be true, but many African American liberals believe it to be true, that African Americans make less money for doing the same jobs as their white counterparts. And then they go and break it down by women, by sex and gender and so on and so forth. But basically, the belief system is that a African American will make 75 cents, let's say, to every dollar that their white counterpart makes for the same job. Now, Thomas Sowell has already disproven this, because what they do is group every job into one lump thing. So a nurse, they'll group a nurse in with a janitor. which is always going to be a disparity. But they believe this. So my question becomes, if you believe you make less money, why would you want to be taxed at the same rate? Why would you want to have a progressive tax, get the same taxes, get the same money taken out as your white counterpart who's already been proven to you that they make less? Yet, if you live in my community, which is the West End in downtown Atlanta, cops come about 10 minutes slower than they do in white neighborhoods. My roads are horrible. I come down Lee Street, which is right downtown. I'm bumpity, bumpity, bump all the way from 20 to my block. And I'm paying the same in taxes. I'm paying the same mill rates as my Buckhead counterparts, as my Inwood Park counterparts, but I'm not getting any of the services. So why would you not be for lower taxes? My liberal friends tell me, well, Shelley, we're paying the lowest amount in taxes in the history of this country. Why are you still complaining? Because I'm not getting the value. If I bought this food here and it doesn't taste good, I'm not going to eat it again. If I pay taxes this year and I don't get better schools, I don't get paved roads, I don't get community policing, then why would I continue paying it? Of course I want it lower. And I want it lower to the point to where you understand, unless you're going to give me good value, then I'm not going to pay anything. And that's what I'm willing to keep saying, lower the taxes. What liberals will tell you when you say you want lower taxes, they'll make you feel bad. They will tell you, oh, you just want to cut social programs. I haven't met a conservative yet that did not want to help people. As a matter of fact, a study was done by Philanthropy magazine several years ago that showed conservatives gave more money to charity than liberals. And that's how we want it. I want to be free to go to church tomorrow and tithe my 10 to 12% and let my church handle the people in my community that need help. I don't want to hand it over to the government and trust that they will give it to the right group of people who are going to do the right things about it. At this point, Tyrone Brooks' name comes to mind, but that's another story. You guys were supposed to laugh. That was supposed to be funny. But anyway, I guess everyone's a Tyrone Brooks fan. But anyway, but that's lower taxes. Why are we for lower taxes? It's not that we don't want to pay our fair share, which is another nebulous term, but it's not that we don't want to pay our fair share. Why we're for lower taxes is because the money you're extracting from me at the point of a gun damn near, you're not doing anything right with it. I don't have the services that I'm supposed to have based on the tax dollars that I'm paying into the system. So I can't get you to change the tax code. That's going to be, we're working on that, and we're trying to do that. But right now, I just rather pay less of it. And that way you'll learn to spend what you have. I was so happy that the T-Splosh got knocked down. I'm sure all of you voted against it, which is a great thing. The reason why they tried to say, oh, conservatives are going to vote against the T-Splosh. They're against transportation. They're against progress. And we need to be competitive in this region. We need to have better traffic. Well, I take 75, 85 and get to the connector every afternoon coming home from work. There's nothing a new road can do for that. That's congestion because of volume. You got enough people living here, you're going to have traffic. But even beyond that, you have enough money now to fix whatever you want to do with traffic. You're asking me for more money to go waste more of it, and you're asking me to vote on it. Of course I'm not going to vote on it, and we shouldn't have voted on it, and I'm so glad it was knocked down. But that was a good case of why we want lower taxes. It's not that we're against paying for things, and this is what they will tell you. Oh, you don't. What about the cops? You're going to call the cops, and what's going to happen when they don't show up? Well, I'm paying for that already. Why should you increase more of what I pay for something I've already paid for, and several times over? The toll booth is a classic example. All these things. I think it's right up here, 316. They've been doing work on this highway for 10 years. It was a 5-year deal or something like that. I mean, these are classic examples. Once you start taking my money, you're never going to stop taking my money. So my answer has to be lower it, and keep lowering it until you starve it to death and then start all over again. Free markets, this is a classic to me. I'm a capitalist. I work in a sales organization, and I believe that if you just let me work, and Booker T. Washington said it best during when they had just freed the enslaved Africans. Let me cast my bucket where I stand. Let me drop, let me work, let me do what I have to do in order to survive. And most human beings will do that. It wasn't until you enter into the government's hand, where the government's there to keep you standing that work becomes work becomes something you don't want to do. But I'm part of the free market. Take away the regulations. If someone cheats, listen, if you don't have FDA inspectors and you come here to the rib ranch, which the food is very good, and you have a bad piece of meat because there are no inspectors, what will happen? You will not go back to the rib ranch. It's incumbent upon the rib ranch to get the best meat in order to sell it to you, so you keep coming back. Having an inspector that never shows up doesn't mean anything. It's just another job. You're taking money from me to pay someone else to do something that's fundamentally against all of what we believe. It's not that we don't need inspectors, it's that the free market will punish those who don't pay attention to the quality of the food or the quality of the cars or anything like that. When a government makes a lot of rules, all it is done to criminalize and tax. That's it. That's why, again, we go back to limited government. If you're an African American and you believe the government is systemically racist, why would you want more laws on the books that can criminalize you? It doesn't make any sense. And this is what we want to say. Again, free market's another example of free markets and the problem that I have with my liberal friends. They say, well, Shelley, people cheat. Well, people cheat every day. Doesn't matter. Free markets doesn't keep cheating down. And if you have free markets and you have regulations, if you fail an OSHA regulation, let's say, you'll get fined $5,000. Well, if you're a $10 million a year company, what's $5,000? It's just a way for the government to keep extracting money. So why have the regulation in the first place if it doesn't truly penalize? And then that company that has too many workplace incidents will go out of business eventually because they won't have anybody to come work for them because it's a dangerous place to work. And so these are the kinds of things that I believe in, and these are the kind of things that you believe in. But how do we take this, what I just told you, and translate it over to the African American community? And I hope that I'm doing something of that. Understand this, as I said to you before, my friends who hear Tea Party, conservative, James Madison Forum, they believe a whole bunch of things that the greatest marketing campaign in the history of this country has done. That's what the liberals have done to, as you say, the rules of radicals have done to impact how African Americans and people think about conservatives. And what we've got to start to do is, one, challenge that thought. When someone says that you're not who you say you are, challenge that thought. And you don't challenge it by saying, well, I know Shelley Wynter. He's my black friend. You know what I mean? You don't challenge it like that. Just like I don't challenge my black liberal friends by saying, well, I know Michael Opitz. He's my white friend. No, I challenge it with facts. I challenge it with, why would you believe in a system of government that you already, why would you trust a system of government that you've already believed doesn't like you? It doesn't make sense. And, you know, I had an argument with a good friend of mine who's totally vehemently for legalization of drugs. I'm against it. I'm against it, I'm against it, I'll fight to my death to be against it. Because I know at the end of the day, if you legalize marijuana or any other drug, the African American community will be destroyed. Not only in its increase in usage, I've had people come to me and say, well, Shelley, you think people will start to use drugs because they're legal? Well, yeah, of course they will. Of course they will. It's human nature. If I can go buy it at the store and I don't have to go through some dangerous alley to get it, of course a 9-year-old's going to try it. And I speak to a lot of young men in the juvenile justice system who are going through the system. These guys believe weed is the most harmless thing in the world. Meanwhile, I'm talking to 15-year-olds who have dropped out of school, who are before a juvenile justice judge, facing time, telling me that the thing that they were doing right before they got in trouble is completely okay. So if you think that that's not going to disproportionately affect my group and my family, then you're crazy. But what's going to happen is when you legalize the drugs, you're not going to take away the criminalization of the behavior. You're just going to make more laws. DUI, they just tried to raise the DUI limit here in Georgia. Why? Because they found that they weren't catching enough people drunk. So you raise the limit. Well, what basis of science do you say that if it's this and if it's 1.2 and not 1.0, I should get a ticket? It's only revenue. So you think it's going to change when you get into the West End and you pull a kid over who may not be drunk but is smoking, oh, you're smoking in a car. Well, it's legal, officer. Well, no, it's not legal to drive and do it. So now you're being carted away. The same rates you're being carted away that you used to legalize it. My point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have got to get the African American community, not all, but we've got to get the African American community to start to look at the situation that they're in and look at where the blame needs to be placed. And it doesn't need to be placed on conservatives. It doesn't need to be placed on Republicans. There's not one Republican who's who holds political office in my community. Not one. From the local all the way up to the federal. But yet I still have high dropout rates, I still have high crime, I still have bad schools, I still pay too much in taxes. And not one level of government that's over my community is run by a Republican. So how do you as a media tell me that the problems that exist in my community are the Republicans' fault? They just took over the state of Georgia 10 years ago. So before that it was all run by Democrats. These problems just didn't get bad yesterday. So obviously, these problems existed long before any Republican came along, and they're not running my communities. So why do the problems still exist? And these are the kind of ways you have to talk to that neighbor, that friend, that teacher. You've got to point to the facts. You believed something for 40 years, you fought for equality 40 years ago, 40 years later, you still have bad schools, you still have high crime, you still have unemployment. These are still problems in your community. So one of two things have to happen. Either the politicians and the ideology you believe in is flawed, or your people are flawed. I don't believe the people are flawed, because this is a race of people who built the pyramids, who've done great things throughout the human history. Throughout human history, these are people that have contributed to the world progress. So it can't be just now that all of a sudden this large number of people have messed up. So it's got to be the ideology, and it's got to be the belief system that you've taught, as Reverend Grayson said, taught to this group of people, and we've got to change that.